Hey guys, how's it going? Srey here. So today I wanted to talk about Tracer. So Tracer is the first hero in the game that was introduced from Overwatch, the second of course being Zarya. And although Tracer is a ranged, kind of sustained damage hero on the outside, she's actually more akin to a hero like Zeratul because she gets in and she wants to assassinate the target and burst the hero down. And she's also kind of similar to Li Ming in the fact that she'll win fights harder for you. So if you get one kill, you usually get two with Tracer. Like with Li Ming, once you get a kill with Li Ming, she'll get a reset and you'll be able to keep winning the fight. And this is because of her absolutely insane mobility, and she has the best mobility of any hero in the game, and she has a unique effect of being able to attack while she's moving. So in that aspect, if you're playing a hero like Valla, you need to stutter step, but there is no stutter stepping on Tracer because her auto attacks you're able to use while moving. So in that aspect, she's simpler, but just using her kit is definitely something that requires a lot of experience and a lot of skill, and it's not something that I would recommend to a new player. So when you're at low levels, Tracer is, I don't mean low levels, but when you're at more of a beginner level, Tracer is pretty easy to play and hard for the enemy team to punish. But once you get to higher and higher levels, your skill with the hero needs to improve higher and higher because if you get hit by one CC, one stun, one poly, one silence, you will get punished and you will probably die because Tracer has some of the lowest health in the game of any hero. So Tracer is very, very comp dependent. Uh, that goes for the team comp that you're running and the team comp the enemy is running. So usually, if you ever watch competitive play, Tracer isn't usually played as without a double support. So a double support usually being Tassadar, the main one. But of course, you can also play Medivh or Zarya, or just sometimes just like a Melf healer. And sometimes you don't need a double support if you have a really aggressive comp. So if your comp is really aggressive, the enemy team can't even focus you as Tracer because they're too focused on just trying to survive. So if you have like um, maybe like a Diablo and a Brightwing and a Zeratul, you get the idea where the dive is just really, really heavy and they can't focus the Tracer. So you don't always need a second support, but by far Tracer is better with a second support. So that's obviously difficult to get in Quick Match or in Hero League. And if you have a double support in Hero League or you ask your team to play double support, it's on you as the Tracer player to carry the game. And Tracer is one of those heroes that can hyper carry, but you need to make sure that you are pulling your weight on the character to make it viable for your team to run the double support. Because obviously you will lack damage, and if you're not doing the damage on Tracer, then it's not worth playing that hero. It's also comp dependent on what the enemy team has. So if the enemy team has a ton of CC, it's going to make playing Tracer a lot harder. So one of the obvious counters to Tracer or one of the more well-known counters is Varian. Varian has a point and click stun. So if you are just anywhere near Varian, you will get stunned and then you will get taunted because you'll get taunt at level 10 and that's 2.25 seconds of CC. And if they have a Malfurion, that's gonna root you. If they have a Brightwing, that's gonna poly you. If they have any kind of CC, a Kael'thas or something, they'll just chain CC and you will be 100% dead because you cannot survive that. So just getting stunned one time against kind of any CC will usually result in chain CC and you dying because you're not tanky enough. So it's very, very important to kind of time cooldowns and see what the enemy team has. Tracer is good against a lot of other heroes as well. For example, really good versus Illidan because she's one of the only heroes in the game that can actually kite Illidan because she has more mobility than him. So as long as you're not standing within melee range of Illidan, you can kite him until he dies. And there's a few other combinations. So Tracer is usually really good if you have lots of healing on your side and the enemy team has um, low CC or they have a lot of vulnerable targets. So if they have like a Valla, a Kael'thas, a Jaina, heroes like that where if you get on them, it's really hard for the enemy team to peel because if they don't have enough peel, then Tracer is going to be a big problem. Tracer also has issues with maps. So if you're on a map where wave clear is important, like Tomb of the Spider Queen on Dragonshire, where you're rotating on Infernal Shrines as well, you're going to have a lot of trouble on those maps in the early game because wave clear is far more important than team fighting and being able to if you want to win the objective early game, you need to make sure that you have something for the objective. So on maps like Cursed Hollow, on maps like Towers of Doom, those maps don't require nearly as much wave clear. So you don't need to require you don't need a hero to wave clear in your team. You can just have Tracer who's really good at kind of finding picks and finding kills. And you want to be able to roam as Tracer and look for picks. That's pretty much your goal. And Tracer is one of the heroes that scales up into the late game. She's not a strong early game. She's one of the only heroes in the game that has her heroic at level 1, but again, still not a very strong early game hero. She definitely scales up with her team. As her team gets stronger, she gets stronger because she's able to survive longer and go deeper. So let's talk about her kit really quickly. So Blink is you can hold 3 charges and you basically dash towards the target area. So this isn't a blink. You can't dash over walls. So you can't dash over this wall here. You'll have to dash around. And you can hold up to 3 charges and you can use them in quick succession. Her W is called melee, and it basically just damages the nearest target. So you'll see that here that when I go up to an enemy, I'll automatically auto attack, and I don't have to. It'll automatically target the nearest hero. So when you're right-clicking, you're basically just targeting what hero you want to attack, and that's underneath. You can see what Tracer's attacking, the little targeting icon. So her W is melee, and it basically just attacks the nearest enemy, and it'll prioritize heroes. It also gives you 5% bomb charge when you're using it against an enemy, just a random enemy, and if it's against a hero, it gives you 10%. And what I mean by bomb charge is, I'll show you in a moment, but let's go over recall first. So recall returns you to a position where you were at 3 seconds ago, refills ammo, and removes all negative effects on yourself. So this doesn't heal you, but if you're tagged by Lunara Poison, if you're tagged by KT Bomb or anything like that, it will remove that effect. And you're also temporarily not on the map. So I'll use it here. So you can see that I'm moving, and 3 seconds ago is where I'm going to reappear, and you basically just teleport to that spot. So for the moment that you're off the map, you are untargetable and immune to all damage for that brief moment that you're not there. So this basically makes it so you can Q in 3 times and then E back, maybe get a pick with your W or something. Let's go over her heroic really quick. So heroic is pulse bomb, and you fire a short range bomb that attaches to an enemy that you hit, and after 2 seconds the bomb explodes, dealing damage, significant damage to the single target, and dealing half damage to targets that are nearby. You can charge this ability, so let me just show you what it looks like. So it has a very short range. You can use it and it sticks to the nearest target, and it just explodes after 2 seconds. So you can see now that I have a percentage for my heroic, and using attacks will stack this. So you can see that as I'm attacking heroes, it will stack. And when I use my W, that gives me a flat 10% bonus. Tracer's passive, and kind of just, it goes into with her, you can see these blue shots right here, those are actually ammunition. You can actually activate D earlier to reload, and once you mount your reload or you return the fountain reload, basically you can see here you have 20 shots. So it's actually a little bit, I don't know why Blizzard did this, maybe just to keep the theme of Tracer, but she doesn't actually have 20 shots. So you'll see that when I shoot over here, it actually goes in twos. So it's always an even number because she only actually has 10 shots, not 20. So you have 10 shots, and each shot deals 1 point of damage. She also has the fastest attack speed in the game, I believe, at 8. I think Tychus and Zarya, for example, have 4 attack speed, attacks per second, and that's obviously very quick. But Tracer has an extremely fast attack speed. That's useful for if you're trying to, for example, burn a Nubarak's cocoon, that'll burn it really, really quickly, or if you're trying to burn the chest on black hearts or something like that. So that's basically her kit. So the way that you're gonna be playing Tracer is, let me get my ult really quick. Let me turn on cooldowns here. Okay, so I got my my pulse bomb here, and a combo that you'll want to pull off a lot of the time is you'll see a low target, maybe they're half health or something. You Q, bomb, W, and then E out, and then you'll usually blow up your target. So that combo does a lot of damage. It can do at least 1200, 24 damage plus 557. You can see that that's a lot of damage, almost 1800 damage at level 20, and that's a significant amount of damage for kind of any squishy, and you'll get more damage through talents as well. So when you're chasing a target, you're basically just auto-attacking them, and you can see her attack range is about average, and you just want to stay at max attack range and kite with the enemy, and you can use your Q to either dodge or keep up with them, and you just want to float around them. So the important part of Tracer is knowing when you can actually go in with an attack range here. So if you're against like an ETC, if you're against a Diablo, if you're against any kind of hero that has any kind of threat for you, you have to be really, really careful. Even like a Johanna, once she has Blessed Shield, can be a threat to you. So if you get hit by any CC, you have to be really, really careful on Tracer. So although it looks really, really simple to play Tracer, you just kind of run up and auto attack stuff and then run out. It's actually more intricate than that, because getting hit by anything, as I said, will kind of chain into multiple deaths for you. And learning when you can go in and when you can get combos is very, very important. Okay, so let's go over talents. Okay, level 1, we have Pulse Strike, Slipstream, and Tracer Round. So Pulse Strike increases the melee pulse bomb damage chart, increases melee pulse bomb charge from 10% to 20% against heroes. So instead of it being, as you can see, 5% here or 10%, it'll go to 20%. It's still 5% versus normal minions though, or normal enemies. And Slipstream increases the amount of time recalled by 1 second. So instead of going back 3 seconds ago, you'll go back 4 seconds ago. And Tracer Rounds, your basic attacks reveal enemies for 4 seconds. So Pulse Strike is standard here by far, and it just lets you get your charge really quickly. And the cooldown is only 8 seconds, so you can see that using Pulse Strike will quickly charge your pulse bomb and allow you just to go for more ganks a lot quicker. So if during the early game and when you're just not doing anything, especially you want to kind of trade with enemies and use your melee against enemies, and when you can do that, you can easily get 20 to 30 to 40% charge in your passive and just kind of trade with that. And having pulse strike allows you to trade. So even if you're going even for damage, so you do an even amount of damage for against an enemy, it's still beneficial for you to do that because you'll get charge on your bomb. Slipstream is pretty much useless. It used to be a lot better talent, but it got nerfed. But this is totally useless talent. Tracer rounds um, is actually very, very strong, especially on maps like Battlefield of Eternity or maps where there's a lot of bushes. Revealing enemies for 4 seconds just from auto attacking them is extremely good, especially versus stealth heroes or heroes that juke in and out of bushes a lot. Or if you don't have vision or a lot of frontline on your team, this can be a really, really good option. So if you feel like you're having a lot of trouble staying on enemies, or if you're kind of new to playing Tracer, I would recommend trying Tracer rounds out, see how you like it. But Pulse Strike is definitely standard. At level 4, we have Parting Gift, is that a health pack, and Untouchable. So all three of these are actually pretty good. So the standard here is Parting Gift. Recall leaves behind 3 bombs to deal 526 damage each to different targets. So after you after you recall, you'll leave 3 little bombs, and the bombs can only hit a target once, uh, meaning that it'll leave 3 bombs, but you won't be able to hit one target with 3 bombs. So you'll do an additional 526 damage on a combo, and it lets you trade for a bit more. So when you Q Q Q W E, you get a little bit more combo damage from that. Is that a health pack? Increases regeneration globe and healing fountain effects by 100%. So this is really, really, really useful if you don't have enough healing in your team, or if you have no healing on your team, or you're just not getting any healing, or it's just kind of like a really quick match where you can't get reliable healing. I actually really like this talent. I think it's really underrated. In competitive, I obviously wouldn't get this, but I think it's a really underrated talent. Untouchable takedowns increase your basic attack damage by 2% up to 30%. Bonuses are lost on death. So after you get 15 takedowns, you basically gain 30% attack speed or attack damage bonus, and that's really powerful if you can get it, but very, very unreliable, especially Tracer, especially if you're not used to playing Tracer, and especially if you don't have double support or something where they can keep you alive in your team. I would not recommend this. I think it's way, way, way too risky because if you die, you're losing a very strong talent, which is Parting Gift. So let me show you what Parting Gift looks like here. EE, you can see it leaves 3 bombs afterwards. Okay, level 7, we have Jumper, Bullet Time, and Spatial Echo. Jumper increases your Blink's charge, total Blink charges by 1, so instead of having 3 here, you can have 4. Bullet Time, basic attacks lower the cooldown of Blink by 0.1 seconds. Remember, you attack at 8 per second, but you have a reload time as well, so it's not exactly that amount, but your basic attacks lower your Blink charge cooldown. And Spatial Echo, hero takedowns grant 2 charges of Blink. So I'm not sure what the standard for the kind of like the meta is, but I easily like going Spatial Echo. I think it's by far the strongest talent at this tier. So once you get a kill, you get 2 more charges of Blink. So that means if you have no charges of Blink, you blink, 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 and you're here, you get a kill, and then you can blink, blink, and keep going for kills. You get another kill and blink, blink. So it's a lot like having Li Ming resets. I mean, it's literally a reset, and it allows you to either go in, get a kill, and keep going, or go in, get a kill, and get out. I don't just having one extra charge here, I don't find useful most of the time. Sometimes you'll wish you had that extra charge, but I feel like just being able to get one more kill in a team fight or 2 more kills, or sometimes you can completely clean up because of this talent. It's a game-changing talent. It will it can decide if you win or lose a game. And I feel like talents like that you can't give up. Bullet time is just bad. You're not really going to be sustaining so much in a fight that you'll get like multiple blink charges. You'll get either you'll have another one from going jumper or you'll have another one going spatial echo. I think that both of these other talents give you more reliable sources of blink charges than bullet time. So spatial echo is what I would recommend. If you are even if you're new to Tracer, I'd still recommend going spatial echo. I think it's something good to get used to. At level 10, it's a little bit unique for Tracer, so she doesn't gain a new heroic. Instead, it upgrades her current one because she already has it available at level 1. So Sticky Bomb increases Pulse Bomb's radius by 50%, and enemies hit are slowed by 70% for 3 seconds. That's not a decaying slow, that's a flat 70% slow in an AoE, so that's a lot. Quantum Spike, Pulse Bomb deals an additional 10% of the primary target's maximum health. And Pulse Rounds increases Pulse Bomb's range and charge rate from basic attacks against heroes by 100%. So Sticky Bomb, I don't see the use for. Um, it basically slows targets after you throw your bomb out. So I don't like this option at all. It doesn't help you kill any targets faster. And once you've bombed a target, you're usually recalling out of the target or out of the fight or blinking away. So you're usually not sustaining in there after you bomb a target. So the slow doesn't really do anything. Quantum Spike is really, really helpful for killing a really important target that maybe they have a lot of shields or maybe they're a really tanky team because percentage health. So max health, percentage max health is really strong versus a lot of tanks. Um, and pulse rounds. So this just increases the amount of bombs you have available. Pretty much, no, not quite double because this increases the amount that you get from using melee, but it increases the amount of bombs you can get by a substantial amount. So quantum spike is usually the best option here because you're not going to get more than one bomb up in a fight, usually at least. So you having quantum spike available to win a fight and guarantee a kill is generally more important because Pulse Bomb already does a ton of damage, and having 10% damage max health will often secure the kill. I've seen it a lot where Quantum Spike secures the kill. If anything, it'll get the target so low that they have to get out of the fight. Pulse rounds can be good maybe if you're already winning the game really hard and you don't need the extra damage, or if they're all squishy targets, so they don't have um, they all have quite low health, so the percentage doesn't really do that much. But if they have any kind of normal standard team with a lot of with 2, 3 frontliners or something, I would definitely be going Quantum Spike. But most of the time, I would say go Quantum Spike. Sometimes go Pulse Rounds and never go Sticky Bomb. At level 13, we have Bullet Spray, Ricochet, and Leeching Rounds. So Bullet Spray increases melee's radius by 40% and causes it to damage all enemies in range. Ricochet, your basic attacks have a 50% chance to hit a nearby enemy, prioritizing heroes, and Leeching Rounds, your basic attacks against heroes heal you for 20% of the damage dealt. So Bolt Spray here is by far the best talent, and that is because it gives you wave clear. So you can see, I can, if I'm near any kind of hero now, you can see that it goes in a radius, and this gives you wave clear to actually clear minions. So you can see that the minions spawn here, I'll actually have wave clear and I can clear things because Tracer has basically some of the worst wave clear in the game, and just having that wave clear, I didn't actually hit all the minions there. You can see that it does quite a lot of damage to the minions, and the radius makes it so that you can actually hit multiple targets in a fight. So if you're gonna get kind of AoE damage, Ricochet, like Ricochet does 50% more damage um, to a single target from your auto attacks, or 50% damage of auto attacks to another target. But if you're gonna go, you might as well hit all targets and go bold spray and also get really good wave clear. Leeching rounds gives you 20% lifesteal, but it's only against heroes, and it's not just the utility you get from leeching rounds isn't nearly good as bold spray. Even if you don't have a healer, I still wouldn't recommend this because you're not really going to be within range to gain any benefit from this. So doing 20% lifesteal, you're going to get out traded a lot harder than you're going to heal just being within range of heroes. Level 16 is an interesting talent tier. So we have Sleight of Hand, Focus Fire, and Locked and Loaded. So all of these talents increase the damage from your auto attacks for the most part, but some of these talents are just better than the other talents. So reduces reload time by 50%. This equals 20% more damage per second, which is Sleight of Hand. You can see that reload time is 0.75 here. Focus Fire. If an entire ammo magazine is unloaded to a single enemy, the last bullet will deal 207% bonus damage, which equals 35% of the total magazine. And Locked and Loaded reactivate reloaded within the last 50% of the cast time to increase your basic attack damage by 40% for that magazine. So locked and loaded will give you the highest raw damage output of all the talents. Focus Fire will give you the second highest raw damage output, and Sleight of Hand gives you the lowest damage output. However, so if you're just better at using, if you can just use locked and loaded, so I'll kind of show you what that looks like here. So if I have locked and loaded, it gives you this extra bar here. So you can see that there's this half the bar is kind of a bright color, and if I activate D, you get kind of you get charged hits, and your attacks kind of do a critical strike kind of effect. So it's a kind of a skill thing. So if you can always hit locked and loaded, and once you learn it, you should be able to hit it. It's not that hard to do, but it requires a little bit more finesse from your end. It'll do more damage than all the other options here, and there isn't really a downside. So focus fire is basically easier to use than locked and loaded, but you have to be attacking the same target, so you can't kind of split focus. Usually this isn't a big deal, but obviously if you're wave clearing or something, the minions are going to die too quickly, so you won't be able to get bonuses from focus fire. And it's just, you might as well be on locked and loaded because you can switch targets, and sometimes you might lose a damage, or sometimes you might have a full clip because you might go out of range, or they might go out of range, or you might recall, and you're not always going to gain the damage bonus from it. But with locked and loaded, you will. And sleight of hand, although it doesn't do as much damage as locked and loaded, it can sometimes be a better option because reloading quicker means you attack more, which means you do more attacks, which means you charge pulse bomb faster. So this can be a good option if you go with pulse rounds at level 10, and it can give you a lot, not a lot more, but a little bit more charge rate on your heroic. Generally, I think that locked and loaded is the better option, but for some reason, a lot of players seem to like going sleight of hand. Maybe just because it's easier to use, because it feels better as well, but you'll get more raw damage out of locked and loaded. At level 10, we have Get Stuffed, Total Recall, and Composition B. So Get Stuffed reduces melee's cooldown by 3 seconds, and hitting an enemy with melee who is stuck with a pulse bomb causes the bomb to instantly explode and knocks the target away from you. Total Recall increases the cooldown of recall by 8 seconds, but it also heals you for the amount of health you lost during that time. In Composition B, if you successfully stick a pulse bomb to an enemy hero, you also drop another one at your feet that deals 50% of the damage and explodes slightly earlier. Okay, so Get Stuffed has 2 parts to it, right? So it reduces the cooldown of melee from 8 seconds to 5 seconds, which is already really good. And it also makes it so that the bomb explodes instantly. So instead of exploding after 2 seconds, it'll explode the second you hit melee, or the instant you hit melee. And it also knocks them away from you. So it has 3 parts to it that are all very, very powerful, and it is by far the best option at this talent tier. Total Recall is nice. The healing effect is really, really good, but the fact that it increases the cooldown of recall by 8 seconds, and you can't really do anything until you have recall available, makes it an option that I don't like going as often. I think that Get Stuffed is more reliable, and just having the cooldown off of melee is really, really significant. Composition B drops another pulse bomb at your feet. However, it deals 60% damage, and the enemies are usually not dumb enough to kind of stand in the bomb. It has some synergy, of course, with Sticky Bomb because it increases the radius and slows enemies, so you can get some utility out of that if you have both options. But that's a level 20 thing, and I think that just having Get Stuffed makes you kind of more of a threat in general. So let's look at Get Stuffed here. So when I bomb a target and I activate melee, this is what happens. You basically knock the target. Okay, so note that you can't actually knock the target through a wall. So I don't think it'll work here because I think the target will reset. But let me get this charge up. So if I knock here, they won't go through this wall. I can't knock them over. So if you guys ever played League of Legends, you know Lee Sin has his, I don't remember what it's called, but he has his kick, and you can kick enemies over walls. You cannot kick an enemy over a wall with Get Stuffed. However, it does allow you to put enemies out of position, so you can knock an enemy into your team, or you can knock an enemy away from you, and it allows you to burst a target really, really quickly. It's a lot of damage that's going to be going out, especially if you have Quantum Strike, a spike at level 10 to do the extra percentage health, and being able to go in, burst a target, and get out before the enemy team even knows it happened is a lot stronger than you might think. The fact that it also reduces the cooldown of melee uh, means that you also have more wave clear and you have more DPS overall. So get stuffed is a little bit more difficult. It's definitely a lot more difficult actually than the other options here. If you're a new player to Tracer and you're trying to get used to everything, I might just recommend going total recall so that you can um, kind of play more aggressive and learn when you can recall in. Although I don't think it's more optimal, I think that it might be better if you're learning the hero, but I think that get stuffed is definitely the better option at level 20. So that's all I want to talk about with Tracer today. Overall, she's a very strong hero. She's very strong in the meta, and she's very strong if you're very good with her. She's also really good in Hero League as long as you have some kind of healing, but you want to make sure that you don't just kind of unless you're really comfortable with her, I wouldn't be blind picking her. I wouldn't be first picking her. I wouldn't just be picking her because if you just need a DPS, and I would really look at the map and how she works towards the objective. And if you need wave clear on the map, you probably don't want to pick Tracer unless you already have a ton of wave clear. Then it probably doesn't matter. But I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And until next time, I'll talk to you then.